Synth unit, you were scheduled for maintenance duty in SRB last night. Anything you'd like to report?
Nothing to report, sir. I carried out my duties, as usual.
Dr. Ao saw you accessing a terminal. You know you are not permitted to access terminals in that section. Is Dr. Ao mistaken?
Yes. No, he's not. But I was only...
What is it? Were you or weren't you accessing a terminal in SRB?
I was, but I swear it's not what it sounds like. I was cleaning the terminal and it switched on by mistake. I was just shutting it down.
Was that a stutter? Have you developed a defect, unit? Maybe you need to be reset.
Sir, I assure you that won't be necessary. It won't happen again.
See that it doesn't. You don't want me to tell you twice. Now get back to your duties.
In our last episode, we fully explored the Institute, with the exception of the FEV lab, and met all of the division leads. Now that we've had a proper orientation, we can head back to Father to find out what his next plans are. But we can't actually progress with the quest and talk with Father until we use the network scanner given to us by one of the other factions on an Institute terminal, which means that we can't actually progress with the Institute line of quests without betraying them in this way. Once done, however, we can talk with Father.
Now that you've had a chance to see the Institute firsthand, what do you think?
First things first. How do I get back to the surface?
The same way you got in, of course. You are not a prisoner here. You may come and go as you please.
I've seen my share of think tank science labs.
Oh, I assure you, none of them were quite like this place.
If you expect me to be impressed by a lot of fancy sci-fi gizmos, you'd be wrong.
I see. It's not just about the gizmos, as you say. I hope you'll see that in time.
You've got technology here that I never dreamed possible. It's amazing.
I'm glad you can appreciate what we've accomplished. None of it has been easy. Ultimately, all our knowledge and resources are focused on a single goal. The goal is best summarized by our motto: mankind redefined. Unfortunately, no advancement comes without occasional setbacks. As remarkable as our synths are, they can be dangerous without proper supervision. The superior synth mind and body attempting to wrestle with something approaching free will can be a recipe for chaos.
What do you mean by proper supervision?
I mean that while they are here in the Institute, fulfilling the purpose for which they were designed, our synths perform admirably. As you're about to see, however, they can become unpredictable when set loose.
So it's like every other wonder gizmo ever invented. When will you eggheads learn?
Have faith. Let me show you how we deal with such problems.
If they're so dangerous, you should destroy them and start over with a better design.
There is no need for such drastic action. We are constantly working to correct any flaws that might arise. As you will soon see, we're also more than capable of reclaiming any synths that become a danger to the surface.
If the synths are intelligent and self-aware, then they have a right to free will.
However closely they may approximate human behavior, they are still our creations. When you see what I have to show you, I think you'll agree that we know what is best for our synths. A rogue synth has taken over the raider gang at Libertalia. His memories have been erased, and his identity altered. He believes he's a man named Gabriel. Under his leadership, the raiders have taken many innocent lives. I've dispatched a courser to Libertalia. I'd like you to join him and reclaim that synth.
Who erased his memories? And why?
Those idealistic radicals who call themselves the Railroad are behind it. We'll deal with them in time. But right now, the priority is to reclaim that synth before more harm is done.
Sure. We'll just fight our way through an army of homicidal maniacs and ask this synth to come on home.
I didn't say it would be easy. But I'm confident that with a Courser at your side, you'll have no trouble.
It might not want to talk. It would be safer just to kill it.
That would be a terrible waste of a valuable resource. If at all possible, that synth should be returned alive.
We'll bring that synth home.
That would be best for everyone. Now you should get moving. Many people are in danger, and a delay could cost lives.
And that's really the closest we get to having a conversation with anyone here at the Institute about machines and free will. Father here kind of dodged the issue. Of course, the synths are creations, but can creations have free will? Everyone here at the Institute, with the possible exception of Alan Bonet, seems to think that they can't. And there's no further debate on it. At any rate, we need to meet up with the Courser at the Nahant Wharf. This is the area where Holdren wanted to start his experimentation on a water-based synth. Before heading out, we can use Father's bathroom here to get cleaned up. We still look like a scruffy wastelander, and it's been a while since we've had a haircut and a shave. Now, the only way out is the way we came in. We have to use the relay. Thankfully, when we met with Madison Lee, she installed a relay chip into our Pip-Boy. Now we can teleport in and out of the Institute at will. It's a bit of a walk to the Nahant Wharf, since we really haven't explored that part of the Commonwealth yet, and we have to fight a number of creatures along the way. As we get close, we see a Brotherhood vertibird in the skies, and it's heading straight for the Nahant Wharf. The Brotherhood appears to be engaging with the raiders at Libertalia, and even though the Brotherhood is not hostile towards us yet, it is hostile towards the Courser that we are supposed to meet up with. Upon arrival, we find our Courser fighting with the Brotherhood, which means we can't talk with him and we can't start the quest. We have to wait for the fight to resolve itself. After a while, the Brotherhood soldiers push towards Libertalia, and our Courser, X688, loses interest. He backs off, and we can talk with him.
You must be the Courser I'm supposed to meet.
Yes, sir. Designation X688. I've already neutralized the perimeter guard. Just give the word, and we can start the assault on the main flotilla.
Sounds like you're in quite capable hands, sir.
X688? We recognize this guy. This is the same Courser that met with Kellogg at Diamond City. We saw him while browsing Kellogg's memories.
Kellogg.
It's okay. One of these days you're gonna get your head blown off just barging in here like that.
What do we know about this synth, Gabriel?
Designation B592 is holed up in the shack on top of the upended cargo ship. He's probably got his best fighters with him, so we should plan on heavy resistance. So, are you ready to go in?
I can handle these raiders on my own.
I have no reason to doubt that, sir, but I have my orders. If you take on that synth, I'll be right there with you.
Let's just get this over with. All right, let's go.
Right behind you, sir.
With that, X688 joins us as a temporary companion, and moving through the wharf, we head towards Libertalia. We see the Brotherhood soldiers wreaking havoc on the Raider stronghold. One has already died, but one is still alive. He's on a suicide mission, heading deeper in. Libertalia is a city comprised of ruined ships and little floating shacks, all connected together with floating catwalks, ramps, piles of junk, small islands. At the heart of Libertalia, as X688 said, is an upended cargo freighter that has been turned into a vertical city. We'll have to weave our way through this flotilla, eliminate all opposition, get as much loot as we can until we arrive at the cargo ship. Now, we could swim to any point in this flotilla, but to get there on our legs, we have to walk across a dock which connects to a scrap bridge leading to the first floating barge. Here we find raider corpses, likely killed by the Brotherhood. Moving left, we find a raider prison. There's ammunition all over the place, and an expert-locked cage door. I couldn't pick this, but if we could, inside we find a chem box with chems inside, 2 ammo canisters at the bottom of a shelf, a wooden crate with Rad-X inside, and an advanced locked safe, which again I couldn't pick, but if we could, we find ammo, some armor, and a pipe pistol. Heading out of the cage and continuing to explore this shack, we find 1 first aid kit, a little bit of booze, and that's it. On the opposite side of this barge, we find another shack. It has a couple of rooms with beds inside, and 1 advanced locked safe, which I couldn't pick, but if we could, inside, we find ammunition and explosives. There is a staircase leading to a top floor of this shack. Here we find more raider bodies. Thanks, these Brotherhood really are deadly. There's an ammo canister up here, and a ladder leading even further up. The ruins of a vertibird is blocking us, but we don't find any loot up here anyway. At last, the gunfire stops. Sounds like the raiders finally killed that last Brotherhood soldier. Now, I picked up a sniper rifle along the way, and this barge is a great place to start sniping off some of these raiders. Taking out as many as we can from here is going to make our job easier later on. But as we start sniping away, we hear a peculiar sound.
Oh well. Carry on.
Yeah! There's a raider with a Fat Man launcher at the top of the overturned freighter. Oh, great. We're gonna have to take him out as soon as possible. I couldn't quite see him, so again I started picking off raiders that occupied other sections of the flotilla. This lured him out last time, but it didn't lure him out this time. So we can keep at it. But eventually, he finds us. Oh, run away! Peering through the scope, we can try to find him. At last, we see movement. He's standing on a balcony. There are a couple of guys on this balcony, and I wasn't sure which one had the Fat Man launcher. So, we can take care of as many as we can. Well, I hope we got him. Moving forward, we can loot the body of the second Brotherhood Knight, and now that we're a bit closer, we can try to snipe off any more raiders. Oh, not again! Oh, I didn't get him! He's still there! Oh, crap, and now I'm in the drink. Swimming back to that first barge, we can climb the stairs again to see if we can find him. Where is that guy? We see a couple more raiders walking around this city, and we can get rid of them.
Come out and face us, scallywag, if you dare!
I hope we got rid of the guy who had the Fat Man. Retracing our steps, we again pass by the body of the Brotherhood soldier. Heading down a staircase, we arrive on a floating raft. There's a wooden box here with scrap inside, and this leads to a little shack floating on a dinghy, which connects to a red tugboat. Inside the tugboat is a wooden crate. We can loot some raider bodies out here, and then climb a ladder to the top of the tugboat. From here, we get a better view of the flotilla, and we can pick off more raiders. There's an ammo canister up here. When done, we can head down and cross a scrap bridge to another floating platform. But now we have to make a choice. We see 2 paths, one that leads to the south and one that leads to the west. We'll go west for now. This western path leads to a partially sunken ship. Inside the cabin is a sleeping bag with a duffel bag on top and a tool case nearby. There's also a first aid box on the wall by the door. Heading to the prow of the ship, we can climb a ladder to the room above where we find a wooden crate. But that's it for the ship. It connects to another tugboat via a scrap bridge to the south. On the ground floor, we find that the cabin is locked with an advanced locked door. I couldn't pick it. Peering through the window, we don't see much but a yellow chem case. If we could pick it, sure enough, we find the chem box, but also a toolbox and a wooden crate. This ship connects to a much larger vessel labeled 4037 on the side. It appears to be the city's pub or restaurant. It has a neon open sign. Moving across the scrap ramp, we can board the vessel. Exploring the bottom level first, sure enough, we find a kitchen here. There's a duffel bag in the kitchen, and we hear a voice above us.
What the?
On the opposite end of this level, we find a lounge with a few containers. There's an ammo box on the ground by the bar next to a radio. Heading out of the kitchen, we can move around to the prow of the ship, but we don't find a way up. We need to move to the stern to find a ladder that leads up to the next level. Moving into this level's cabin, we find the raider.
What the fuck?
He was guarding a yellow wooden crate, but X688 seems to have caught another raider's attention. Peering out the door, we spot him on a nearby vessel.
You're mine now, rookie.
That's it.
Things appear to be clear for now. After looting this room, we can head outside, whereupon we find two more paths. The southeastern path leads to an elevated cabin with a safe inside and a terminal. Both are locked with advanced locks. I couldn't hack or pick either of these, but if we could, the terminal simply gives us control over the safe, a spotlight, and any nearby turrets. And if we could pick the safe, we find ammunition, Rad-X, and some explosives. Back to the restaurant ship, we can finish exploring it. Behind the top-level cabin, we find a yellow crate underneath a staircase. Taking the staircase up, we find the topmost level with another wooden crate inside and an advanced lock safe. If we could have picked it, we find a bunch of ammunition and a little bit of pre-war money. We have a great view from here, and we can do a little bit more sniping, take out some of those spotlights. But that appears to be it. Back down to the main level of the ship, we can take the final path off to the southwest. This path crosses a white ship, there's a duffel bag and a wooden crate inside, and then it connects to a red ship with a shack on top. We can loot the bodies of the raiders that we've been sniping this whole time. Inside the shack is an ammo box and a first aid kit on the wall. Then we can take a staircase up to continue along the path down into the southwest, then across a floating bridge towards another ship to the south. This ship is almost completely sunken. We have to dive in the water to fully explore it, but there's not much here. Using the scrap bridges, we can navigate across it. Inside the cabin, we do find one wooden crate. This leads to another half-sunken green ship. We can loot more bodies, but we don't find any more containers. Using the scrap walkways, we can move to a nearby red ship, loot more bodies, and a wooden crate at the very top. We find a path leading down from this red ship, where we destroyed a machine gun turret, that leads to a boardwalk that brings us southwest towards land. Looks like this could have been another point of entry to Libertalia, had we not come from the direction of the Nahant Wharf. We see a ship on the sand off in the distance. It is illuminated, but inside we don't find much but a first aid kit on the wall. So back to Libertalia. Oh, well, looks like that path was mined. I guess I just got lucky that I missed them. Poor X6. Back towards the flotilla, we can continue to follow the scrap walkways east. We pass by another sunken green ship here. The walkways never bring us on top of it or inside of it. We have to swim to explore it, but if we do, we don't find anything inside or on top of it. So back to the scrap bridge, we can follow it east. We're getting closer to the freighter, but we don't see any more enemies. At last, the floating scrap bridge brings us to a large platform with mannequins on top. And then we see movement. So the raiders move from the flotilla to the overturned freighter using this gondola. Looks like that's how we're gonna get there. But why is it moving back to us now? Someone on the ship must have sent this back for us? Oh! There's at least one person left. He's hiding. Let's see if he pokes his head out.
Show your face.
I think we're being shadowed.
Over here.
Got him. These mannequins are standing among the corpses of settlers. It looks like these bodies have all been looted. No idea what the mannequins are doing here. Maybe this is some sort of raider art project. From this platform, we cross a scrap bridge to the north to arrive on another floating barge, and here we find a bunch of raider cages. The barge is littered with the corpses of settlers. They are piled in a huge pile in the middle of the barge. They've all been looted of anything of value. In one cage, we find a trader couple. They died embracing each other, and they were put in a cage with a couple of mole rats. There's another trader in another nearby cage, and we see the crane attached to a cage which is partially submerged in the water. In the cage is another settler corpse. So this is how the raiders amuse themselves when they're not pillaging and murdering. We see a very narrow walkway leading from this barge. Walking along it carefully, we arrive on a floating raft with two more paths, to the northwest or the southeast. Moving northwest first, we see that this path connects to that last fork in the road that we found before moving towards the restaurant ship. Had we gone this way, we would have found a first aid kit on a raft and found another path leading to a white ship that has a wooden crate on a bed and an expert-locked box safe. There are a whole lot of safes here in Libertalia. Great place to hit if we've invested in the lockpicking skill. Heading to the top of the ship, we find a raider corpse and an ammo box. Back to the walkway, if we continue southeast, we find two more ships, a white ship to the right and a red ship in front of us. The red ship has a shack built on top of it. It connects to another shack built on stilts. The shack with stilts has a wooden crate and two ammo boxes, and the red ship has a weapons workbench. From the red ship, we move to an absolutely huge barge covered in garbage. We see the gondola here leading to Libertalia, but exploring this huge pile of garbage, we can keep our eyes open for anything of value. There are animal and monster corpses all over the place, one advanced locked safe sticking out of the garbage, a wooden crate, and some sort of dolphin creature. Whatever the hell this is, this couldn't be that Institute Synth experiment, could it? I'm sure this can simply be explained away by radiation mutations. On this big pile of garbage is a small room with an ammo box inside and a first aid kit on the wall. Well, that's it for the floating flotilla. We've explored every wreck, every raft, every little shack. To continue, we need to move to the gondola and take it across to the upended cargo freighter. At last we arrive, and we can loot the bodies of the raiders that we killed from afar. From here, we see a barrel on fire, and we can move down to explore this bottom level. Taking a staircase all the way to the bottom, we find a dinghy with a yellow crate inside and a ramp leading to the water. Looks like this could have been an infiltration point if we didn't want to take the gondola. But back up to the gondola room, we can finish looting the bodies, and these guys are all chunks. Oh, and here's the guy with the fat man. Looks like the fat man may have traded a number of hands. Turning right, we find a bit of a workshop. There's a chem box on a shelf next to an armor workbench and a toolbox. Inside this little green room is a wooden crate. That's it for this level though, so to continue, we can follow the signs that say, no left turn, but then point left and up. Taking a staircase up to the next level, we see a bar over there. Moving around this staircase first, we find some beds, looks like a barracks, and we come upon some raider corpses. Moving into the kitchen, we find a chem station and a fridge with a few boxed goods inside. There's some silverware and cutlery, but that's about it. From here, we take a staircase up to the third level. And immediately we see a staircase leading up to the fourth with a wooden crate beneath it, but we'll explore this third level first. We find another room with more beds, empty beer bottles. There's a pathway that leads to an overlook. This is the big platform that we saw from the distance. Here the guy with the fat man originally sat before we killed him, and then someone picked up his weapon. On the table next to this chair is a copy of U.S. Covert Operations Manual.
Excellent.
You've collected an issue of the U.S. Covert Operations Manual, Bushes, Boxes, and Beehives Camouflage Special. Permanently more difficult to detect while sneaking. Moving back to the shack, we find a small bedroom, but it's empty. Another bedroom, and this one has an advanced locked safe inside with ammunition and thrown explosives. And that's it for this level, so taking the next staircase up to the final level, we find ammo canisters on a table and a number of chairs and beds strewn about with empty whiskey bottles. On a porch, there's a wooden crate. On another porch, there's an ammo box beneath a table next to another wooden crate. After exploring this room, we find a door leading to the captain's cabin. But as soon as we enter, X6 wants a word.
Hold up a moment, sir. There's something important I need to tell you.
All right, but make it quick.
I will.
Not now. We're a little busy.
I know, but it'll just take a second, and it's something you need to know.
What is it? I'm listening.
I'm going to give you B592's reset code. If he hears the code phrase, it'll reset his cognitive processes and make him docile. You'll need to say B592 initialize factory reset, followed by the authorization code Gamma 71 Epsilon. Once he's shut down, I can transport him safely back to the Institute.
What do you mean by reset his cognitive processes?
Put more simply, the recall code will render him unconscious even while he's still standing.
Jesus, what a mouthful.
Then talk fast, sir. Just make sure you get it right.
I'm not going to destroy this man's identity and free will. Killing him would be more humane.
After all the innocent lives he's taken, I believe the word you're looking for, sir, is justice.
He's not a man, sir. He's a synth. A synth that's confused and dangerous. We can restore it to its proper functions, make it whole again. Sir, I can't force you to use the reset code, but I know it's what Father would want. I hope you'll consider that.
Good. I'd like to avoid any unnecessary violence.
A wise decision, sir.
Well, he might not be alone up there. Violence might be inevitable. That's all, sir. Ready when you are.
Use the reset code. Don't kill Gabriel. Got it. This captain's quarters is a pretty small place for the three of us. See if we can navigate this room. We see a teddy bear smoking some cigarettes and drinking booze in a nearby crate. Turning around, we find an elevated platform next to a curtained-off section that must be Gabriel's bedroom. Fancy accommodations for a raider captain. Under his bed is a footlocker with ammunition. There's bobby pins and cigars on a nearby bureau. And on a desk in the back of the room, next to a novice locked safe, is Gabriel's terminal. Inside we find two options. In the first, command prompt log. Run update user Gabriel. Log complete. Previous user files archived. Run delete old files. Log parameter old files unknown. Run delete all files. Log parameter all files unknown. Run help how to delete old files. Log command help unknown. Run help how to fix piece of crap terminal. Log command help unknown. Oh, Gabriel was running into some issues with pre-war Robco terminal technology. Poor guy. So much for superior synth brain, though I suppose it had been damaged by the railroad. In the next one, archive for user James Wire. And here we find 5 entries going all the way back to May of 2282. So here we are, our new home. Only casualty was one of Anderson's less useful toes. Otherwise, I'd say cleaning the Mirelurks out of these old hulks went pretty well. Now we just have to figure out what to do next. Been a long time since any of us knew life outside the Minutemen, but General Becker was the only thing holding those folks together. Now that he's dead, it's just a matter of time until the militias start turning on each other. Not worth sticking around for that. But we can make something of this place. I know it. We're going to have to. So the people who built Libertalia were not the Raiders. This place was built by former Minutemen. We learned from Preston Garvey that the Minutemen fell apart, and it looks like, according to this terminal, it was the death of their general, Becker, that caused the Minutemen to fracture.
Back before General Becker died, the Minutemen were a force to be reckoned with.
I wonder how General Becker died. And the next one, November of 2282. We're running through food a lot faster than we'd planned. People are starting to get hungry. We are rationing, but the scouts need to turn up something soon or we're in trouble. In the next one, December 2282. I had Anderson and Williams hanged today. Not pleased about executing the best guns we still had, but it needed to be done. End of last month, they started finding big caches of food and supplies. We were starving, so I didn't ask where it came from. Then today we get a visit from the Bunker Hill guards. Turns out my boys had been hitting caravans, feeding us the spoils. I gave the guards my word those boys would see justice, and I kept my word. But justice doesn't put food in my people's mouths. In the next one, February 2283. No stinking more. Another caravan stiffed my boys. This mercenary crap we've been driven to isn't worth it when the bastards don't pay. I tried to get the merchants at Bunker Hill to cut us some slack, to give us something, anything to eat, but they wouldn't deal. They're in on it too, I guarantee. No, this ends now. Today, me and the boys make an example. And in the last one, April 2283. 4 new recruits today said they heard all about the caps the raiders in the bay have been pulling in. Raiders. That's what they called us. And they're not wrong. We're making money hand over fist. Bunker Hill, the caravans, they pay us to do nothing, to leave them alone. This is the best shape we've been in since leaving the Minutemen. General Becker would be sick if he saw us now. But he's dead, and we're alive. I don't feel like writing anymore. The Minutemen crumble after the death of General Becker. These remnants arrive and build Libertalia and try to make an honest living, but they keep getting stiffed by the merchants they're working for. This drives them to theft. They become the very raiders they once swore to protect the people from. But perhaps that's inevitable in this world. Could Preston Garvey be trying to live a pipe dream? Perhaps the very idea of the Minutemen is just a fantasy, a farce. Perhaps it has no place in this post-apocalyptic wasteland. Or perhaps they just needed better leadership. Now, if we come here to Libertalia before getting the quest from Father to retrieve Gabriel at Libertalia, and if we come into the captain's quarters, this terminal is not called Gabriel's terminal, it's called James Wyer's terminal. And then, if we head outside, we actually find Wyer alive. We sadly can't talk with him. I went through all the trouble of going through this again with Preston Garvey as a companion, just to see if Preston Garvey had any dialogue with a former Minuteman turned raider. But no, nothing. James Wyer is always hostile. He attacks on sight, and Preston Garvey has nothing to say about it. But anyway, looks like Gabriel killed Wyer and took over the raiders here. Before heading outside to confront him, we can finish looting this captain's quarters. At first I thought we could unlock the safe from the terminal, but we can't. Thankfully, it's a novice lock, and inside the safe, we find some thrown explosives and some rad-X. Out of Gabriel's room, we can move up to the elevated platform. And here we find a legendary shotgun.
Nice.
Le Fusil Terrible. Plus 25% damage and limb damage, but has more recoil. It's a legendary combat shotgun, one of the best in the game. This can be an end-game weapon for a rifle build. In the nearby wooden crate, we find some rad-X and a fragmentation mine. There's a first aid kit on a table and a storeroom in the back. Inside the storeroom is a novice locked tool case with more ammunition inside. After looting the storeroom, we find a ladder leading out a hatch in the roof, bringing us outside to the Commonwealth.
Well done. Very impressive. Just like me, you've made it to the top. Judging by your gear, I'm gonna guess you two are agents of the Institute. So, tell me, is the Institute so desperate for resources that it's stealing plunder from honest, hard-working Commonwealth gangs?
We find a number of ways to respond, many of which have overlapping results. We could inquire about the loot.
How much plunder have you got?
So you are here for loot then.
What are you doing, boss? We can take these guys. Keep your mouth shut.
I know what I'm doing. We got a modest little stash. I'll tell you what. I'll give it to you, freely, if you walk away afterwards. What do you say? Do I have your word?
Then we have 3 options that lead to a violent altercation.
And if I refuse?
If that's the way you want it, then let's finish this!
On second thought, nah.
That's right, sir. We don't make deals with pirates.
Hell no. I think I'll just take what I want.
I do hope you know what you're doing.
If that's the way you want it, then let's finish this!
B592. Gamma 7-1 Nice work, sir. I'll take the synth back. This is X688, ready to relay with reclaim synth B592.
Any of these options cause the raiders to attack, but as soon as they attack, X688 speaks Gabriel's recall code, and instantly, before we even have a chance to attack him, he powers down, and we are unable to do any damage. If this happens, X6 tells us, "Good job," and he disappears with Gabriel. Or we can try to pass a red charisma check to let him go. If we fail it...
You have my word? Give me what you got, and we'll leave.
But, sir, this man is a criminal.
You had me for a minute there. Anyway, I think we've talked enough, don't you? Kill these sons of bitches!
They turn hostile. But if we succeed...
The password to get into the stash is Mad Orca. Help yourself, my fellow pirate. We can always get more.
I'm sorry, sir, but I have my orders. B592, initialize factory reset. Authorization Gamma 7-1 Epsilon.
Boss? Are you okay? Gabriel, can you hear me? Shit, they did something to him! Take them out!
X6 uses the recall code despite our arrangement. His raider minions get spooked and they attack.
Nice work, sir. I'll take the synth back. This is X688, ready to relay with reclaim synth B592.
And if we choose this option and get the password, we can unlock the terminal in the room behind us. This terminal is connected to a box safe that requires the terminal to be opened. Inside the terminal, all we can do is open the safe. Alternatively, we find another option that immediately leads to a fight.
There's a lot of blood on your hands. That ends now.
That's the way you want it, then let's finish this!
Which has the same result, or we can try to tell him about his true identity.
Gabriel, you aren't who you think you are. You're a synth, and we're here to take you home.
Synth? What the hell are you talking about?
I remember my whole life. I know where I grew up and who my parents were. Explain that to me!
2 of these options have the same result.
You sure about that? You've never felt different from other people? I know this is hard, but it's the truth. Your memories were altered. You are a synth.
Don't listen to these guys. They're messing with your head, man. Just shut the hell up. You got me? Don't say another word.
I'm sorry, sir, but I have my orders.
In which case, X6 interrupts us and immediately uses the recall code. Or we could try to pass a yellow charisma check to get him to surrender, and if we fail...
I'll make this easy for you. Surrender now, or we kill you.
If that's the way you want it, then let's finish this!
He attacks, but if we succeed...
Okay. I could see we're no match for you guys. Just don't kill us.
Don't listen to these guys. They're messing with your head, man.
In which case, X6 uses the recall code. Or we find 2 opportunities to use the recall code ourselves. When we first start talking to him, or once we tell him that we're taking him home.
B592, initialize factory reset, authorization Gamma 7-1 Epsilon.
Boss? Are you okay? Gabriel, can you hear me?
Am I?
Shit, they did something to him. Take them out.
They turn hostile. Now, despite everything that X6 said before we left the captain's cabin, it's actually really hard to kill Gabriel. Even when using the violent options during the dialogue, X6 is so quick to say his recall code that we really don't have an opportunity to attack him. The moment X6 starts uttering the recall code, even before he finishes, Gabriel deactivates. And once he deactivates, he becomes immortal. We can't kill him. What further complicates this is as soon as we step outside the captain's cabin, we initiate dialogue. Once we're trapped in the dialogue wheel, it's difficult to maneuver outside of it so that we can attack, because when we're in dialogue, we can't attack. So we kind of gotta shimmy backwards and to the side a bit to briefly escape his dialogue wheel and use that brief moment to attack. I tried shooting from a distance, but that didn't do enough damage to kill him before he started dialogue. I tried throwing grenades, and I could kill his companions, but I couldn't kill him before X6 used the recall code. The only way I was actually able to kill him, against Father's instructions, was to pick up the fat man that was on the body of the raider outside and use it immediately upon exiting the captain's quarters.
First mistake? Last mistake. You gotta be joking.
What are you doing? You're supposed to bring him back alive.
Do it again! Don't you die on me!
That synth was a valuable piece of technology. You're going to have to explain this to Father. X688, ready to relay back alone.
X6 is extremely disappointed in us. We can then loot the bodies, and interestingly, we don't find a synth component on Gabriel's body. I don't think this means anything. Instead, I think the game doesn't correctly place synth components on all of the synths. There are other synths in the game that, from a lore perspective, are very clearly synths, like Glory, that don't have synth components. We find a red steamer trunk up here. It was sitting on the ground in a small little cabin behind Gabriel. It has a nice stack of bottle caps inside and a small selection of arms. And if we didn't get the code from Gabriel during dialogue, we find the terminal connected to the safe is locked with a master lock. We'll have to hack this to get into the safe. When done, we can leave. There's a little platform here that we could leap from if we were wearing power armor, but this would lead to our death. Heading to the very top, we find a plank that we could walk, or we could simply use the relay to fast travel back to the Institute. Heading upstairs, we can talk to Father.
I'm glad to see you return safely. I know the task was difficult, but I needed you to see firsthand how dangerous a rogue synth can be.
Why do you care what happens on the surface? You're in your own world down here.
Because there are forces on the surface that could pose a threat to us, and only a fool ignores a possible threat. We might diminish that danger by correcting the false perception that we intend some great harm to mankind.
The Institute created that synth, so the Institute is responsible for what it does.
I disagree. A synth is no more inherently evil than a handgun. When a man dies by gunshot, is the weapon's maker blamed? Of course not. The blame rightly falls on he who pulled the trigger. Yes, we created the synth. But whether they intended to or not, the railroad's agents turned it into a killer.
I don't care about who's to blame. I just wanted to stop a killer.
Yes, of course. Your pragmatism is admirable. It does matter, though. If everyone sees the Institute as a villain, dangerous forces could align against us. If we can put the lie to such assumptions, we diminish that threat.
Gabriel and his gang were sick bastards, hanging their victims up like trophies. I'm just glad it's over.
While we can do nothing for Gabriel's victims, we can at least take comfort in the knowledge that the threat has been removed.
If we somehow manage to kill Gabriel, Father says,
in any case, the mission is over. While it's unfortunate that the synth was destroyed, the important thing is you could see some of the good work we do.
But otherwise, he doesn't seem that upset. Alternatively, if we kept him alive, Father says,
but enough about that. The task is done, and you've returned our synth safely to us. I couldn't have hoped for a better outcome. Well done. While you were away, I had quarters prepared for you. You'll find all the basic necessities, as well as a generous stock of arms and equipment. Go and have a look. I think you'll be quite pleased.
With that, Father grants us our own private quarters. To find our new room, we head all the way downstairs, move out into the Institute concourse, and turn left at the elevator towards the Institute break room. Then we climb this residential stack to the 3rd floor.
Safety first. Remember that.
Your quarters are just inside, sir.
and we see that our new room is right across the hall from Evan Watson. Oh no! The rules book guy is our neighbor.
When you're finished here, sir, Father wants to see you.
We recall that when we explored the Institute in our last video, this door was inaccessible. We couldn't explore it. But now we see that it's ours. The room is kind of small compared to the other rooms here in the Institute. It has a bed, but nothing we actually need as a player. No workshop, no ability to customize it, no workbenches. A couple of containers to store some things, but they're not safe containers. NPCs could rummage through them. But with that, we complete the quest, Synth Retention, and begin the quest, the Battle of Bunker Hill. We need, yet again, to speak with Father. But before that, maybe we should talk with some of the other members of the Institute to see if they have any tasks for us. Either way, we'll pick up right here where we leave off in my next episode. I publish new episodes in this series each and every week on my channel, so if you don't want to miss the next one, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I have a shirt shop with completely unique designs that you can't find anywhere else. My designs come on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes, and in a wide array of colors. You can find them on other products as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in another way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. You can also give me a super thanks if you like the video. Your direct support helps keep this series going. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with more brand new episodes.
Hi there.
I guess you're from one of the vaults, huh?